There are limitations, though. These families didn't need a 400 or 500-page government report to learn that law enforcement failed them in a historic way. They didn't need the report to tell them that law enforcement violated its most sacred responsibility, and that is to protect our children in a time of great need. They didn't need that. Why didn't they need that? Because they were there. Some had AR-15s pointed at them as they desperately tried to help when law enforcement wouldn't. They were there as their children were being killed while law enforcement was paralyzed. Paralyzed. They were there. So they did not need to learn that. But the details of the investigation will come out for whatever value they provide. It's important to understand go back and let's just refresh our recollection about what happened that day. Within minutes, really, hundreds of heavily armed law enforcement officers were there from all different agencies. The DEA was there. The Border Patrol was there. The Uvalde police were there. The school police were there. The county police were there. Texas Marshals were there. It was a convergence of heavily armed and mostly very well-trained law enforcement agents. And you would think that they were fighting to protect a major army from invading us on our borders, as we would like our law enforcement to protect us. But who was on the other side of this epic battle? What were they afraid of? Were they afraid of an 18-year-old kid? This 18-year-old, let's remember, was about 5'5" or 5'6". He was 140 pounds, soaking wet. Were they really afraid of this kid? No. They were afraid of his weapon. And it turns out that even some of these well-trained officers are human beings. And guess what? We've learned from this event, from Parkland and other events where law enforcement got cold feet. These people were scared. They were scared because they're human beings, and they were scared of getting killed. And they waited around while somebody else was going to be brave enough to intervene. The questions that are not answered in this report are significantly more important than the questions that are. This 18-year-old kid was able to walk into a store down the street and acquire a military weapon. Dealer. How could that happen? How could that happen? Where's the investigation into that? How did this 18-year-old kid even know enough to know how to equip himself in this way? What happened? What are the means by which gun companies are marketing these weapons to our children? How are they reaching them? Where's the role of marketing and the gun companies in this report? There's no fault or investigation whatsoever. The truth is you can respond to an active shooting, but let's not delude ourselves. You might be able to save a few lives, but we can't accept that that's the best we can do. Over 12 years ago, or about 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago, after the Sandy Hook shooting, shattered families went to the United States Senate and they begged, they pleaded. They said to our elected officials, it's too late for us. Our children were just killed by a kid, a troubled kid under 21 who used an AR-15 to kill our children. They said, help us. You can't help us, but you can help us by helping others. And Congress turned their back on the Sandy Hook families. And Congress turned their back on the Sandy Hook families. And because of that, and by the way, the Sandy Hook families weren't the only families to plead, to beg, to say, let's protect our children. There were other families. Every mass shooting that occurs, almost, there are families pleading with the government to do something. Parkland families said the same thing. They said, okay, how about now? How about now? Let's limit the access to these weapons to children, to kids 18, 19, 20 years old. And Congress thumbed their nose at the Parkland families. And the Attorney General's here. He's done nobody can fault the Attorney General for his commitment to this or his concern for these families. It's very moving. And his entire office, and I applaud them in this effort. But the Attorney General wouldn't be here. None of his team would be here. I wouldn't be standing here. Most importantly, these wonderful families wouldn't be here, standing here pleading, talking about what happened that day. You wouldn't be here. But if Congress had just listened, instead of just listened to the Sandy Hook families, if they had just listened to Parkland, you know who would be here? Eva Morelos, Irma Garcia, Zaya Garcia, Xavier Lopez, Amory Joe Garza, Jose Flores Jr., Alitha Ramirez, Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez, Eliana Torres, Eliana Garcia, Rogelio Torres, Jacqueline Casares, Jayla Silvera, Jace Nuevanos, Lexi Rubio, Tess Mata, McKenna Elrod, Neve Bravo, Layla Salazar, Maite Rodriguez, and Miranda Mathis. Think about that. This shooting doesn't happen if our government had just listened to these families, or and not just our government, but if the state of Texas had just even done the paltry thing of making it, even raising the age to 21, they would all be alive. And isn't that such a small price to pay? Yeah. We're going to turn it over now. Sorry? Yeah. We're going to turn it over now to our wonderful families who would like to speak and express themselves. And I'll introduce Kimberly Rubio.
Folks, a few families will speak, and then we'll do questions at the end. Okay.
Reading this report this morning, I read that Pete directed officers intending to gain entry into the classroom to stop. That no leader effectively questioned the decision and lack of urgency of UCISD PD Chief Aragondo and UPD Acting Chief Mariano Vargas toward entering classrooms 111 and 112, and that leadership can arise regardless of rank and title. I hope that the failures end today and that local officials do what wasn't done that day, do right by the victims and survivors of Robb Elementary, terminations, criminal prosecutions. And our state and federal government enact sensible gun laws, because Robb Elementary began the day an 18-year-old wasn't allowed to purchase an AR-15.
Most importantly, from what we've seen with this report, and I commend the DOJ on doing this, is that although there isn't every name of the officers that were there so that we can hold them accountable, because we have to do our own digging most of the time, there are names that are named. And it is time, because our community is so divided because of this, because they don't want to believe that the people that they grew up with failed our children, and they stand against us, I'm hoping that they read this and they see Johnny Phil's name, or Mariano Pargas's, who is a county commissioner right now, or Constable Zamora, who is running for re-election. There are names in there, and the community needs to see this, and y'all need, because the DOJ stamp is on there, maybe y'all will start taking us seriously now, instead of telling us to move on, telling us to sweep it under the rug, and not doing a damn thing about it. We need our community. It's hard enough waking up every day and continuing to walk out on these streets and walk to an HEB or drive to an HEB and see a cop that you know was standing there while our babies were murdered and bleeding out. It's hard enough that. If this community doesn't care, and I hope this makes y'all. I also hope that this lights a fire up under the district attorney's ass, because we know that she has not done a damn thing, and we refuse to accept that. Do your job.
Anyone else want to talk before we take questions? Let's try to go one at a time and just introduce yourselves so they know who they're talking to. Where do we want to start? Shimon, go
Hi,
ahead.
yeah. So just
Just let them know who you are, Shimon.
Shimon Prokopiev, CNN. Just do you guys feel that the report went far enough in naming people and holding people accountability? Because as we know, the DPS had the largest number of law enforcement officials outside of the CBP. And there's a lot of video and a lot of information about their actions that day. But it doesn't seem that this report really touches on their actions that day. It seems to focus mostly on the local officers, Arredondo and the chiefs. Are you concerned about that? Just maybe some reaction to that.
I don't see
Would
why-
you guys mind coming up to the mics?
I don't understand why they are allowed privacy. My child, their children, they are named in this report because they are dead. Everybody should have been named.
Do you feel, Kim, if I can follow up, that somehow maybe DPS is off the hook on this, but when you look at this report? Or any of you want to just...
I mean, it's kind of hard to answer the question because we've only been given an hour and a half to kind of just look through the report. So we don't even know if they are mentioned in there or not. We would hope that they are because they were there. So we hope that they would be accountable for their actions as well.
Ronnie, following up on that, Monica Madden, KXAN and Nexstar. I know that you said you're still sifting through the report and everything, but were you hoping that the Attorney General would have addressed a lot of more of the aftermath, the delays in the DA's investigation, DPS's investigation into its officers' actions and accountability? Were you hoping that he would address more of that publicly?
I mean, of course we would have. We're grateful that we got what we have right now because it's probably the most updated information that any of us have gotten since May 24th. So, and we're very appreciative of what he's done right now. But yeah, we would have liked to have more information.
The other.
On BBC Radio, did you learn anything new from what you've seen in this report? Is there anything that you didn't know before?
We knew as families, just kind of talking amongst each other, we knew the failures that had happened. We just kind of, it makes more clarity now because it's written and now it's set in stone and what we thought is true. So
I did learn something.
you did.
I didn't realize that the scene was compromised.
What?
The scene was compromised, so that there was people that shouldn't have been there that were entering the classroom. That's mentioned in the report.
And was that, how did that make you feel to learn that?
And I want to continue reading more when we're done here.
Let's do a couple more and then we'll go read.
Two quick ones. News 4, WAI, KBB in San Antonio. In all of your guys' mind, is there any question left that the DA should have all that she needs, all that she is required to have for her investigation to be able to pursue criminal charges now at this point?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most extensive piece that we have about all of the failures that happened that day. What else does she possibly need to prosecute or to remove these people from their positions of power when they can't even do their jobs?
Yami Virgen, KBB, WAI. How safe are the children of Uvalde right now?
I think the point of this is that none of us are safe. That's what Josh just mentioned. None of us are safe because these weapons are on the streets.
Let's go right down here, right? Sorry.
Guys, Amanda Anderson from the Sport Box San Antonio. I've talked to so many of you over the past year. A lot of you recently have expressed concerns about the 2-year mark, meaning that the statute of limitations for misdemeanors will expire. Are you hoping that this will potentially fast track the upcoming DA investigation, the ongoing DA investigation?
Well, the DA, even the DA can't get fully in our way of an investigation. But it ought to be, to your point, it ought to be said that the DA, with the help of the AG here in Texas, is fighting the disclosure of a lot of this important information. So the DA is effectively, the DA has a job to do. We understand that, but she's locked up this information that these families deserve to have access to evaluate their legal rights. There's no reason why she can't do her job so that we can do ours, and so that these families get the information they deserve to make the decisions they have to make.
Assuming she's still giving you no timeline updates whatsoever.
I mean, I think at this point, it's not a good bet to bet on the DA's timelines.
Over here, Sergio Martinez Beltran with FDR's Texas Newsroom. Quick question, you talk about how you're representing the family, you're trying to conduct an investigation. What's the purpose of it? Is it potentially to sue the local law enforcement agencies? Like, what are you hoping?
Well, it's similar. Of course, the DOJ looks at the criminal, the DA is looking at criminal allegations. But the other facet to these incidents is what went wrong, and how can we hold those people accountable? And the traditional other means that we do so, which is by bringing legal action against them, so that there's another incentive to clean up their act, right? And so we have to look at all the angles here. What contributed to this? And it should be noted that when many of us were growing up, maybe am I the oldest person here? But when many of us were growing up, we didn't have these routine mass shootings with AR-15s. But guess what? AR-15s were available. So something's changed. And so one of the big things that we've seen in Sandy Hook and Parkland and other cases is that what's changed is the way these weapons are pushed on youth. And this is a tragic and unnecessary example of the repercussions of that. When I was growing up, nobody knew what an AR-15 was. And here, every kid of a certain age, especially boys, know what they are because they're being courted. And they're being courted with other actors like social media and et cetera. So these gun companies are really pushing these products on kids for these types of missions.
William Alotto from the Texas Tribune, are you suggesting that you're going to pursue charges against gun manufacturers?
Well, I don't bring charges, but fair enough. But the legal issues that we're under consideration now, I can't really speak about beyond just the big picture type of things that you have to look at in an incident like this. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into something like this.
For the families now, what are the next steps? As we now have one of these investigations out, there's numerous. The DPS is still doing their investigation. We obviously have the DA who is still doing theirs. What is next for all of you as you continue to try and move forward and, one, put the day behind you, but two, create change?
I think we're going to continue fighting. We're going to continue fighting that some type of change is made in honor of our kids. We have nothing left but to fight for them. We are their voices now, so we're going to continue.
Can I just get a reaction from someone? The Attorney General having him stand there, very significant moment when he says that lives, had officers follow protocol procedure, the lives could have potentially been saved. How was that? How was that for you to hear him say that?
I mean, how do you want us to react to that?
Because so many people have not wanted to say that here, in the law enforcement officials.
It was pretty hard. It was respectful for telling us, but it was pretty hard, to hear that. When he sits there and says that, lives could have been saved. I just get a little closer to me. I just couldn't believe it. For these officers to sit there and just not do anything, and still be out here, on the streets like nothing happened, And my daughter's gone. It was hard. It was hard.
I think we're gonna leave it there, folks, and
he
let the
wants to
family
say
still
something.
read
I think
a
he
little
wants
bit. Thanks, everybody.
I'm the grandfather of Layla Salazar, and this mass shooting here. Why is it that our officers got rewarded instead of being punished? They got raises instead of getting demotion. That's what I don't understand. The DPS major there that's sitting behind Abbott got a $40,000 raise. The Texas Ranger that had been suspended a year ago, fired, he's still getting paid over $100,000. Why are we paying these officers and then you want us to trust them with our families when they're getting paid to do nothing? We lost 19 children and 2 parents and another husband that died right after. So really, I don't see where we should be rewarding our officers. Because I was at the courthouse when they had the commissioner's court, and they asked me if they should have a raise, and I told them straight out, no. They don't deserve a raise. If you cannot serve and protect the people, these were children. All they wanted to do was play. There's no reason this should have happened. They should have did. They ignored the training that was supposed to be since Columbine, and they ignored it. There's too many failures in this situation that happened here in Uvalde, and for them to be getting rewarded for it, I do not agree.
What's your name and last name?
My name is Vincent Salazar. I'm the grandfather of Layla Salazar.
Thank you, Vincent. I'm sorry.
Wait, where's yours? This is not yours, right? Wait, this is yours, right? Yeah. All right. We're gonna go back.
can email and download my VA paperwork and talk to my doctor online instead of driving far away. Our church is even connected now to the internet. And the members that cannot come to church for some reason at all, they can look at the service online, which is great. I'm grateful for President Biden's investment in high-speed internet have made things better for my family and my community. And by the way, if I can mention another issue, President Biden has also helped my neighbors with diabetes with affordable insulin and capping the insulin at $35 a month, which is a huge help for people that's on insulin. President Biden is helping every small town across America get connected to high-speed internet. And now, without delay, now I would like to introduce you to President Joe Biden. And in closing, I would like to say 4 more years.
Hey everybody, how are you? Hello, Raleigh. What a great crowd. Please take a seat if you have one. I once said that at an event, and people didn't have chairs, and the press looked at me and said, what the hell's the matter with that guy? Anyway, Edward, thank you. Sergeant First Class, I was telling him my son Bo, who I lost because of what happened in Iraq. Anyway, my son Bo, when he made Major in Iraq, I was there. I wasn't with him when he made that, when he got promoted, but I was with him later at an event, anyway, in Iraq. I didn't want to say where I was, but, I said, Bo, congratulations, you're now a field-grade officer. He looked at me and said, Dad, I don't know who runs the United States Army. Sergeants First Class run it. And that's a fact. So, Sarge, thank you very, very much. Folks, Governor Cooper and all the state officials here today, and by the way, you got the best governor in the country. Where is he? Roy, stand up. No, I mean it. You know what I love about him most? I mean this from the bottom of my heart. He has absolute, total integrity. Integrity. Thanks for the welcome back to North Carolina, Gov. I appreciate it very much. I also want to mention Congressman Deborah Ross. Where's Deborah? I just had my picture taken with her. That's probably why she left. No, all kidding aside. Anyway, she couldn't be here, actually. That's not true. I got it mixed up. And she has, she fights very hard for the people of this district, and she's up in Washington right now. And folks, I'm here today to talk about something that doesn't get enough attention, and that's the progress we're making to invest in America, all of America. You know, there's a law written back in the 30s that says when the Congress passes a bill that has money in it to be spent to build something in America, whether it's an aircraft carrier or it's a highway or whatever it happens to be, that the president should use American workers and American products. For the longest time, Democrats and Republican presidents didn't abide by that very much. But I do, because I want to make sure that we're making it in America, building in America with American products, and that's why we've created 14 million new jobs. Folks, bringing opportunity and hope to people and communities across this country. Let me give you one example of bringing high-speed internet to every person in America. Nearly a century ago, Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the Rural Electrification Act, bringing electricity to every home and farm in America, because it was in cities, but it wasn't in a lot of rural areas. Because electricity had become an essential part of modern life. So he wanted sure everyone had access to it. He was determined that no American should be left behind, no matter where they lived, whether in a big city or a rural area. Well, I tell you what, I made the same determination about our time, affordable, high-speed internet. It really is critical. It's just as essential today as electricity was a century ago. Who remembers, during the pandemic when schools were shut down and the Sergeant First Class mentioned it, kids weren't able to attend school, so they go online. How many of you spent time in McDonald's parking lots tapping into their internet so you could do the homework with your kid? Look, think of all the workers who need internet to do their jobs when they're working from home. So many are working from home, have to work. Small businesses need internet to reach more customers here at home and literally around the world. And our seniors are needed in connection with their doctors through telemedicine because they can't make it to the doctors in person. High-speed internet isn't a luxury anymore. It's an absolute necessity. No, it really is. And yet, when I became president, around 24 million Americans didn't have access to affordable high-speed internet. And for millions more, their internet connection was limited or unreliable. That's why as soon as I came into office, I took action with what we call the American Rescue Plan. And it included more than $25 billion to invest in affordable internet, high-speed internet all across America. A few months later, I signed a piece of legislation which many people didn't think we could get done, the bipartisan infrastructure law. A once-in-a-generation investment to rebuild America's infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our railroads, our high-speed internet, all of it paid for. And look, our goal is to connect everyone in America to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet by the year 2030, everyone in America. Just like Franklin Roosevelt did a generation ago with electricity. I promise to be a president for all America, whether you voted for me or not. These investments help all Americans in red states and blue states as well. We're not leaving anybody behind. Look around North Carolina, and with the leadership of Governor Cooper. With the partnership of your governor, we've invested more than $3 billion to expand high-speed internet in every county across the state. $3 billion. Fiber optic cable is being laid in the ground as we speak. Over the next 3 years, over 300,000 homes and businesses all across North Carolina will be connected with affordable, high-speed internet. And today I'm announcing another major step. We're investing another $82 million to connect 16,000 additional homes and businesses, bringing high-speed internet all across the state of North Carolina, from top to bottom. By the end of the decade, we're going to finish the job reaching all the remaining homes, schools, libraries, small business, healthcare facilities in North Carolina that don't have access to high-speed internet today. Let me say that again. Universal, high-speed internet in all of North Carolina by the end of this decade. Folks, you just heard from Sergeant Smith a few minutes ago why it matters. He's retired Army, 22 years of service, which we owe him. He and his wife Emma live in Tar Heel, as he mentioned. North Carolina population, staggering population, 100 people. They've been using dial-up internet for years, just like everyone else in town. It took Edward far too long to download medical paperwork, as he mentioned the VA. It was hard for his grandkids who lived nearby to use the internet to do their homework. And then thanks to the American Rescue Plan, which I signed into law, fiber optic cable was laid and the town got high-speed internet. And now Edward and Emma and the kids and the grandkids can use the internet quickly and easily, from getting care from the VA to doing their homework. Look, their neighbors include folks who can't attend local church services, he mentioned. They can stream these services at home every single Sunday. High-speed internet has been a game changer for their town and so many counties all across America. Look, and we're just getting started. But it's not enough to just have internet access. It needs to be affordable. Affordable. So, here's what my administration did. We worked with internet service providers to bring down prices for people struggling with their payments. It's called Affordable Connectivity Program. It's already helped 880,000 households in North Carolina save a total of $440 million in internet bills collectively. That's about 1 in 5 families across the state are saving $30 a month for the internet bills, and some save a lot more. That savings matters in homes like the one I grew up in. Another 30, 40 bucks a month was the difference between how many groceries you pay, the gas bill, all other necessities. It matters. It matters. Plus, the investment we're making in high-speed internet means something else as well. Good paying jobs. And folks, just ask the folks at the International Brotherhood of Electric Workers, the IBEW, or the Communication Workers Union, or the Laborers Union. We're putting thousands of people to work laying fiber optic cable all across America. And that cable will be made in America, put in by Americans. Even better, a lot of that cable will be made in North Carolina. Two American companies, CommScope and Corning, are investing more than $550 million to manufacture fiber optic cable, creating around 650 good-paying jobs in Hickory, North Carolina. The single starters. And there are going to be more. Already, 40% of all the fiber cable, optic cable in America is being manufactured in Hickory. And no, that number is going to continue to grow. Jobs are going to grow. And when jobs grow, everything grows. Everything grows. Everything in the community grows. All told, during my presidency, we've invested, and I know it's going to sound like not much to you all, but $11 billion in North Carolina. $11 billion in infrastructure, clean energy, everything from high-speed internet to clean water, new roads and bridges. For example, we're investing $1 billion, $1 billion, in a new rail line connecting Raleigh and Richmond, Virginia. Not only creating a whole hell of a lot of jobs, but it's going to take a lot of vehicles off the road. It's going to help with pollution. And guess what? It's going to cut the time. Well, let me give you an idea. Right now, the trip takes about 3 hours by train. With the new rail line, it's going to take you 2 hours. Think what that will mean to people traveling to work and visiting families. Think what it means in the reduction of highway bills. We're also investing $110 million to replace the Alligator River Bridge. Look, that bridge is a major hurricane evacuation route for the Outer Banks. So it's high time it get replaced because it's in trouble. The bridge now is far too low for boat traffic, which means cars have to stop and wait, sometimes several times a day, for the bridge to swing open so boats can pass underneath. Because the bridge mechanism is 60 years old, sometimes when it swings open it can't close, which stops cars and traffic for hours and sometimes days. Now we're building a new, higher bridge that boats can easily pass under. It will be wider and more accessible to more cars to travel across every single day, saving time and saving money. Folks, what we're doing here in North Carolina is just one piece of a much bigger story. To date, 40,000 infrastructure projects have been announced across this nation. Since I've been to office, we've created 14 million new jobs. 440 new jobs in North Carolina alone just since I came back. That's because of this guy right here. Nearly 800,000 manufacturing jobs nationwide. Unemployment has been below 4% for the longest stretch in American history in the last 50 years. And here in North Carolina, unemployment is even lower. It's 3.5%. And the stats coming out today show that seeking unemployment insurance has even gone down. Fewer people are needing the help. That's lower than it was in every single month under the last president. Wages are up. Household wealth is up. Not only for middle-class Americans, for Latinos, for black Americans, for minorities. Costs are still too high, but inflation continues to fall, and mortgage rates are falling, and they're going to fall more. Last week we learned that America filed 16 million 16 million in America, 16 million new applications for businesses, for a new business since I became president. Folks, that's a record. Every single one of those new small businesses is an act of hope, an act of hope. It generates progress. People are beginning to have, and if you look at the consumer confidence, it's way up. 64%, I think maybe 62%, Americans think their personal circumstance is good and it's getting better. Meanwhile, thanks to the Invest in America agenda, private companies have invested over $640 billion, let me say it again, $640 billion in advanced manufacturing here in America. And by the way, you know, we invented that little computer chip which everything from your cell phone to your automobile needs. Guess what? We used to control it. We got down to the point we hardly manufactured any of it. And so what happened when things went bad, we didn't have access to all those computer chips that were being made in Asia and other parts of the world. So I got in the plane and went to South Korea. And I said, why don't you come invest in America? One thing led to another. Over $50 billion, people coming to America, investing and building these computer chip factories. And guess what? It's just getting started. But guess what? The fact is that these computer factories, they build what they call fabs. They're about as big as a football field, and they manufacture these chips. You don't need a college degree to work in it. You know what the average starting salary is? $116,000. $116,000. And look, put it all together. America has, this is a fact, the strongest growth rate of any and the lowest inflation rate of any major economy in the world. In the world. We have a lot more work to do. There's no question our plan of investing in America and the American people is working. It's all part of my economic vision. Building an economy from the middle out, from the middle class out, and the bottom up. That way the poor have a shot, middle class does well, and wealthy still do well. Well, they got to start paying their taxes. You know, I'm serious. I don't mean paying 60%. I mean just paying the top rate of 38%. Look, folks, you know how many billionaires we have in America today? 1,000. You know what their average rate, tax rate, federal tax rate is? I should walk away from this. Federal tax rate is 8.5%. Raise your hand if you'd trade your tax rate for 8.5%. I mean, serious, think about this. There'd be $40 billion raised if they just paid 38%, if they even paid 25%. Folks, look, we all do well when the middle class does well and we grow. Everybody does well. You know, I'm so tired of trickle-down economics. I grew up in a family where not a lot trickled down on my dad's kitchen table. My dad was a hard-working guy. We weren't poor, but we lived in a 3-bedroom split-level home with 4 kids and a grandpa. And, you know, we were fine. It was okay. But there wasn't anything left over. There was nothing left over. But now, a lot of middle-class folks are having enough leftovers. They can do things. Our approach is the fundamental break from trickle-down economics, supercharged by my predecessor. My predecessor, everything was trickled down, but not a lot trickled. No, I'm serious. Which tax cuts for the wealthy and big corporations, shipping goods overseas. How many people do you know in this state and other states? There was a factory in town that employed 300, 400 people. And all of a sudden you found that factory shipped overseas. Why was it shipped overseas? Cheaper labor costs. So we were shipping factories overseas and importing the product they made here. Well, guess what? We're doing the opposite. We're making it here and shipping the product overseas. I'm serious. And also that trickle-down shrank public investment in education, infrastructure and education, have hollowed out communities, closing factories, leaving too many behind. And now, my predecessors like to say, America is a failing nation. In my faith, bless me, Father, for his sin. I mean, come on. A failing nation. And by the way, did you hear he wants to see the stock market crash? because he does not want it now. We're doing well. He acknowledging by that we're doing pretty damn well economically and getting better. He wants to see the stock market crash. You know why? He doesn't want to be the next Herbert Hoover. As I told him, he's already Hoover. He's the only president to be president for 4 years and lose jobs, not gain any jobs. Come on, man. You know, some of the things he said, well, I don't get started. But look, frankly, to put it very politely, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Meanwhile, the vast majority of Republicans in Congress voted against our infrastructure law. We got enough to make it work of 30-some, but the vast majority voted against it. They all voted against all the other bills that I have. I mean, 100% voted against. And guess what? Whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene or whoever, they're now, when these new projects come, they're welcoming them to their state. They voted against it all. So I told them I'll be there for the groundbreaking with them. You know, look, what was mentioned as well. Look what I fought my whole career. I've been around. I know I don't look it, but I've been around for a little while. But all kidding aside, look, you know, I spent the bulk of my career as a senator trying to bring down the cost of prescription drugs. If you have a prescription from your doc and you take it to a pharmacy here in North Carolina or Wilmington, Delaware, where I'm from, or wherever, guess what? I can take that same prescription from you and go to Toronto, Canada, London, England, Rome, in Italy, anywhere around the world. And it'll be somewhere between 50% less and 70% less. How does that work? Why? Why isn't in America we're paying $400 a month for insulin if you have diabetes? And in other places they're paying $35. Well, guess what? You're paying $35 now, and it's going to go down even further. And by the way, at $35, they're making 350% gain. It costs $10 to make it, $12 to package it. So come on, man. It's about time we start to be a little fair to ordinary people. When it comes to voting against infrastructure law, it doesn't stop many of our Republicans calling up and saying, we need a project in my district. Now, what I haven't done is I haven't blocked projects in their districts because they're all Americans. The fact they have a senator or a congressman who doesn't know what they're doing doesn't mean they should be denied. But it's okay. It's okay because I promised to be a president for all Americans. And I mean that sincerely. It's not hyperbole. I promised to be a president for all Americans. Like I said before, I told them all I'll see them at the groundbreaking. Let me close with this. When you see shovels in the ground, cranes in the sky, and people hard at work in these projects, I hope you feel pride in America. Pride in America. Pride knowing we can get big things done when we work together. You're all the real heroes. It's not hyperbole. You're the real heroes in this story. American workers, the American people, neighbors and community leaders doing the work to bring our cities into the future. That's what America does. That's why I've never been, and I mean this, and I've been saying this for a while, and the press has to cover me everywhere. I've been saying I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. I've been around for a while. I've never been more optimistic about America's prospects than I am in the last 3 years. I really mean it. Because there's nothing. We have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And nothing is beyond our capacity when we work together. Nothing. And I'll say one last thing. We're the only major company in the world that's come out of every crisis stronger than we went in. And that's what we're doing again today because of you. Thank you. May God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you very much. Let's go get them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.